Hello there. So this is my Ford Escape Titanium 2014 and it's time to change the battery. Having some trouble on those cold days. So if you're like me, you figured out maybe I'll just change the battery myself, and then you found out that there might be a few more steps involved than you were counting on or hoping for on your Ford Escape, I think from 2013 to 2017 or 18. So I actually already started a video, and then I ran out of storage on my iPhone, so I just removed a bunch of photos, and hopefully we're good to go. So I'm going to be trying to be efficient to make you a useful video that will show you that it's really not too bad at all. There are a couple of methods I saw on YouTube. One was to remove this grill on top. I'll explain the boot in a moment. That one didn't really appeal to me. Too many clips, removing the windshield wipers. So here's another approach that I saw another guy do, and I'm going to try and fill in some elements that were missing in the video that I saw, or at least I think I can make it a little easier for you to follow. So I already removed the cable from the negative terminal in the battery that goes to the chassis down here. My ratchet, I could probably benefit from a longer ratchet, but I first started like this, and then I realized I can get a little better of a grip from here, and that's what I did. The bolt comes out this way, actually, so the nut doesn't really loosen. It's all part of this one bolt that screws into the connection point on the chassis. So now I'm going to take that negative cable, and I'm going to place it, I'm going to isolate it. I saw a video where it got wrapped in a rag. I'm going to place it in this rubber boot just to isolate it, probably provide some additional or important safety while changing the battery. So I'm just going to take it and stick it in here, and that looks isolated enough for my purposes. Next, I already removed 3 screws. I have to remove the top of the air filter. 1 screw, 2 screw, 3 screw, and there's a 4th in the back. These are the little screws. The trick is not to drop one of them into the engine block, which if you do, typically if you shake things around a little bit, will fall onto the floor beneath the car. But in the meantime, I got 3 off. The 4th one in the corner over here is a little deeper. So I'm going to pretend that I'm loosening it, but I already did. The thing is, just pull up gently on the cover as you loosen the screw, and voila, the screw will come up with the cover of the air filter. In fact, I'm just going to leave it in there as I set it aside. Now, the air filter pops out pretty easily, just like so. You'll notice on the right side, the camera's not there, but because it's on my tripod right now. But there are, if you take a look after when you pull it out, so you'll notice when you have to reinstall it, just pull up and pull out. You'll notice that there's this little notch on the bottom, and I think the way, because it's not the first time I removed it, I think that goes right between these little tabs down here. Hopefully you can see what I'm pointing to, and just put this little notch between those tabs when you reinsert it, and you'll notice that the edge of the filter, where are we? There we are, will fit. There's a sort of a groove for it to fit in here, so when you put things back together, if you got it right, the cover will go on and rest and touch the bottom surface all around, and then you can put your screws back in. Okay, now the next step is to loosen these air channels, air intake thingamajiggies. So if you can see here, there's a rubber strap. I'm going to pull this rubber strap out, pull it up, and then there's another rubber strap, and I'm going to just pull that off the tab from this black air tube, air vent. Next, if I can recall, okay, I have to remove this screw over here. See this piece with the rubberized connector? I gotta remove this screw up here, and I'm gonna do it, it's easier. Well, no, I think I'll need the ratchet in this case. So I'm just gonna loosen that up and be right back. Okay, so here I am using a ratchet to remove this screw that connects this thingamajig to the air filter compartment. Okay, well, just a couple more turns. Disconnected, that's going to stay in there so we don't lose it. Now, next, there's a screw lower down. See, I'm going to show you where it is here. A little harder to get to. The way I got to that one was from underneath this tube over here. And I was just able to fit the screwdriver with the ratchet head there. I actually removed that already. And that screw is... Okay, so to continue, make sure you loosen this screw here and the one below here enough so that they're definitely not still going into the plastic receptacle on the base of the air filter box. So then, what I did to make it easier, you see these, pull up the box here and here. That should get it looser. Then what you need to do is take this part out, and it does give. It's going to take a little practice, but there we go. Now we got that up. It does take a little effort. Shouldn't take too much force, but maybe a little effort. Now I can lift this box out. There we go. Maybe not as easy as I'd like it to be, but doable. Okay, I got it. Now, not the most pleasant part of this process so far, but you can see this piece here and this post here, when you return it, actually have slots that they basically fit into here and somewhere down over here, and it's really not too bad, but it does take a little getting used to. Okay, I loosened and removed the cable. I've loosened the nut. It's still attached to the rest of the connector. Now, this thing in front of the battery compartment, I'm going to lift and just pull the sides here a bit away, and that will allow me to remove the cover. And I will just see if I can move it out of the way a little bit, like so. And now I have access to the battery. Well, I thought I had access to the battery, which I do in a way, but now there is a strap on top of the battery that holds it in place, and I use the ratchet to loosen this side. It's a little harder to access the right side of this small strap, but I'm going to see if I can get the battery out with one side loosened. So yes, I loosened and I removed the nut with my fingers. There we go. And played around a little bit. You have to lift the battery up about ½ an inch. And now I think I can slide it out. Now, once again, just a small little hurdle. There's a little something connected to the negative terminal of the battery besides the cable. And I didn't loosen the right side of the strap, but still I was able to work around that. The negative battery cable does sort of go under the strap. I think that's okay. If I
pull it out together, or maybe I don't even have to pull the cable out entirely, just get the battery out enough to remove the cable going to the negative terminal. There's a little device, I don't know if you can see it, and there's a little clip you push in with your finger or a screwdriver at the very end, and then that thing pulls off a little device, a little electronic something attached to the negative post. So I did have to loosen the negative, the bolt on the negative terminal a little bit, but once I did that, I was able to turn the cable just enough so I could actually have room to remove that little connector, which you can see over here. And just over here is where I pushed on this little part. It's like a reverse upside down U-shape little thing to push on, for lack of an official term. So now I'm going to just continue. I'm going to remove the negative cable from the terminal and see if I can proceed with a new battery. So now I have the new battery in, or on its way in, and the positive terminal is covered up for safety, and I will be tightening it up. I cleaned it a little bit with a wire brush, but I didn't have one that would slip inside the connector, so I just did the best I could, but actually it was very clean. Didn't see much issue with that. Now I'm going to be tightening things up to the negative side. As I do, I want to keep this little connector sort of aligned, so hopefully it'll be easy to reconnect it. I think I need a little help. So the battery's back in. I got the cable with the little clip connected to that little electronic piece on the negative terminal. I tightened up the negative terminal, I guess just the right amount when it was tight enough. Now I'm going to put the negative cable back in the boot just to isolate it from the rest of the car, from the chassis, while I work on the positive terminal. The cover for the compartment, and I can see now there's a tab at the bottom in the middle. It fits into a slot at the bottom, and then you, let's see, lift. Okay, you drop it down from the top, and if you're lucky, I think it worked. Just lift it up, push it in, and down. Ow! Oh, now it worked. I guess that's how you know. So, I'm going to get this protector off, the positive side. Lose it? No. I will say, I was hoping to do this video and say to you guys, girls, hey, you know, when you know what you're doing, it's really not that bad. Maybe I'm still learning. Maybe I'm getting to the point where I know what I'm doing, but you know, it does take a little bit of work, let's say. So, got the ratchet. I'm going to get this back on the positive. So, do a quick little cleaning. Where did it go? Here's what I've got for a cleaning brush at the moment. It's pretty clean inside, but why not just do a little whatever for what it's worth. It was working before, so it should work again. I guess we can get fancy, take a paper towel and wipe off some of that dust. There. If that's not professional, what is? Okay, now I'm going to reconnect the positive side. Get it on down there. And I will be back. Get back to you in a moment. Okay, so the battery is reconnected, at least on the terminals, and now I have
the negative part to contend with. I'm not sure about this. Just try to be a little careful. So what I need for that is this screw. And, well, it's the chassis of the car, which we touch all the time. So I don't think there's an issue as long as we don't touch the go into the positive terminal of the battery. So we're fine. So let me just get my long ratchet, with the extender available. Okay, guys, girls. It did take a little longer than I expected. Getting the battery back in place was not too bad, but when I reconnected the negative cable to the chassis, there were some sparks, which now I understand is normal. I did call, well, I won't say who, but let's say a local Canadian outfit. And the guy suggested connecting the negative first and then the positive on the battery, the thinking being it's easier just to slide the connector onto the battery than it is to attach the cable to the chassis. However, looking at a few more YouTube videos, it seems that's not the best idea. Maybe if you know what you're doing, it's not so bad, but it seems to be much better, safer to connect the positive first and leave the negative for last. And you can't connect the negative last right onto the battery because the battery has to be seated back in order for that cable to be able to reach the connection point on the chassis. However, note the rubber gloves and the taped up ratchet. Maybe not necessary because we're just connecting the negative cable to the chassis, but I thought I once heard an expression that went something like better safe than sorry. So I got that connected up. I will say I hope I got the screw in. I hope I didn't ruin the threading in any way. The last few turns of the bolt took a little effort. Let's put it that way. But now the thing seems snug. The lights go on in the car, and you think you're finished. But well, hold on a second. We have to put back the air filter, which actually, my experience is a little easier going back in. Let's see, is there any? Yes, first I have to put these clips back for the battery. So let's do that. 1, 2, and well, let's do that with 2 of these. Oops. Okay, so we have a secure battery with the strap on top of it. All the cables are good. That little extra wire or cable is connected to the negative terminal. I think we did that well. And now here goes the air filter. So again, you have these posts here that 1, 2, 3 that seat themselves into these little receptacles, these rubberized receptacles. So here goes. I'm gonna drop this bucket in. I'll just call it a bucket at this point instead of an air cleaner compartment. Okay, this stuff has to go in here. But remember, this goes out of the way. It's not too hard to get this positioned. There we go. Now we're on our way. You can tell that these vent tubes are more or less in the right place. And you will know when it falls into place. Well, ideally you will know. But I think it did. Now I just got to get this shoe back in. There, that wasn't too easy. Kind of wants to go in anyways. And that's it. Everything is in the right place. These guys look okay. Oh, that was it. Now it's in. And I didn't even say ouch. So, rubber clip. Rubber clip. Those things are fine. Whoops. Stay. Okay. Still have some memory on the iPhone. So now, I'm just going to take a little pause while I screw in this bolt, and then from below I screw in another bolt to secure the compartment to these tubes. One little pointer, when you see this big air tube thing, before you slip it into the hole in the air cleaner compartment, good idea to get this bolt in just until it's sticking through the edge of drop, or almost, because otherwise when it's down below, if you try to insert it with a screwdriver, it might go in on the wrong angle. So this compartment is back in, the tubes are seated, placed correctly. I'm going to put the rubber over here, and I'm going to put it over here. And I'm starting to be a little more sympathetic for my local mechanic. So now I'm going to hopefully finish up by dropping back in the air vent. If you recall, there's a little notch here on this side, and that's going to go between these two tabs at the bottom. Let's just make sure everything's in place, everything looks good. I put these two screws in to connect this. Now, thing in, tab on the bottom, that's in place. I can feel it. It's fine. It's not a tough job. Well, at least I know how to change the air filter now. I will drop the cover back on. 4 screws. This screw here is already in. So I will just drop on the cover. Try to get it positioned correctly. This looks nice. This looks nice. And the other one looks like it's not going on all the way for some reason. Maybe the screw is in the way. I should loosen the screw first. There we go. Let's see if that helps. And again, slide it into position over the filter. And let's see what's going on. These two parts look good. Okay, so did take a little longer than I expected. Now I'm thinking if the other approach, the other videos about removing this panel over here and a couple windshield wipers might be an easier approach. I'm not sure, I haven't tried it, but I think it's at least possible. I don't know, could Ford make it a little easier to change the battery? What do I know? A guy should be able to change his battery if he wants to, or a girl. It's not a McLaren, you know. It's a wonderful car. But it's not a McLaren, and it'd be nice if it was a little less challenging. So to finish up, here's the battery cover. Let's see about that. Got it. So that's it. Battery cover, battery back in place, battery cover on top, air filter. This stuff, tubes connected and looking good. This little thing back where I found it. Negative cable tight to the chassis. Didn't want to over tighten it, but I think I got it. Seems pretty solid. And the lights are working. So just for your pleasure, let's call it a job well done. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. I know I did.